7 for the year.
For the
And so far you've closed how many?
5 with 2 in pipeline.
That's amazing. That's great. That is very good.
So you are on,
For the scoped down one.
right.
My very enthusiastic
Aggressive.
goal of
Yeah.
11 is not. I'm behind on that.
Okay, this is September. How many more months do we have to complete our goals?
1
She's right. Amanda's right.
by November.
Yeah, if it's not, maybe even by the middle of September. It's not in the pipeline by the middle of September, it may not pass
True.
in 2016. So you don't really have to the end of December to do your goals, which is always an eye-opener for me.
Mhm.
So when you start writing offers mid-September and November, you're going to be closing potentially in 2017. So what does that mean, everybody?
I need to sell 5 houses in 2 weeks.
That too.
Let's go.
Well, that wasn't what I was looking for. What does it mean?
The optimist would say we can get a great start to next year.
That's where I'm going with it. What it means is you should be thinking about your 2017 goals already. So that when you start formulating them, you'll have them in writing and you'll know what's attainable. And you won't wake up in March of 2017 and wonder where you're going. You should be starting to think about your 2017 goals. And I know Jack White will have some classes on goal setting. Okay, today we're talking about how to build trust between you and your clients without overpromising. And I've always said we're word brokers. It's not just what we say, it's how we say it. And I also believe you should never ask a question that you don't already know the answer to. That would help you remain in control of the transaction, and you don't get caught. Without an answer or knowing what's going on. So what I was hoping to do is let's take each one of these and somebody come up with an example of it in your real day in the trenches life. Number 1, stay in constant communication with your clients and prospects and answer your phone or your emails or your text messages. If your clients can easily get in touch with you, they will learn to trust you'll be there when they need you. Give me some examples of that. Yes, ma'am.
Today, I just got off the phone with someone who called on one of our leased properties, and he was shocked at how well Gabe was talking with him and staying in contact, and they dropped it in my lap to finish it up and continue working with him. And he just said, "This doesn't include you." But every time I've called realtors, they never call me back.
Yes.
And you're the exception.
Wow.
It's just one call, even if it's just to say, "Hey, how you doing?"
And Amanda has a client that she and I are working with. He's rehabbing a home in Eagle River, and he's spending a lot of money to rehab this home. And I was getting organized to get here today. I was working from home this morning, and he called, and I answered. Tom called. I answered the phone. He asked me to call him back, and here's the question. Kathy, I'm ready to tear out my kitchen house. Do you think I should do this or this? And he was standing in his house that he's rehabbing, in the kitchen, trying to figure out what to do. I answered my phone. We had a 15-minute conversation. And he, therefore, I think, felt comfortable going a certain direction because of that conversation. It's, we get in a hurry, we don't want to answer the phone, but answering the phone can make a huge difference in retaining clients.
Mm-hmm.
And you're almost like their parent at some point. Okay, number 2, using the word we rather than the word you. I think Billy came up with this. Helps the client feel more comfortable that you are on their side and that the two of you are in this situation together. But always remember that you cannot speak for your client. I can't tell you how many times we've talked to other realtors and they say, well, my seller or my buyer will never do that. Well, how do you know? How do you know they won't? Would you mind asking the client how they feel about that? So who's got an example for using the word we rather than the word you?
right now with CJ Horwath, he's in a situation, and why did I use his name? He's in a situation where the buyer of his home has been going through some hardships getting a loan. And they had to change programs and change back, all kinds of silliness. So I've used the word "we" a bunch to let him know that I'm on his side with this. That it's not, because it very well could be, well, CJ, you just gotta wait. No, now we're waiting to hear from the loan originator to see what the status is. And that goes in with, that ties right in with the, answer your phone or whatever. If staying on top of communication, because CJ's the kind of guy that will almost instantly be like, well, why do I always have to call you? I don't have much to say to you, CJ, but I'm going to call you anyway and say, hey, I'm still waiting to hear from the loan originator.
This is a seller who, one of those many sellers we work with who's smarter than we are, remember? They hire you to do the real estate thing for them, and yet they know more about the real estate business than you do. And he's been a handful, he's been a lot of work, but he's such a believer now in what we offer, and that we probably, we earn what he's going to be paying us eventually. And we've really helped him through a lot of disappointments in this transaction. None that we created, it's just the business. But that constant communication has really settled him down, and he's very amenable now. And that dovetails into 3. We also gives you the right to be even more outraged about a situation than the client is. This is when it's okay to be a bit of an actor, more indignant and outraged than they are. Oftentimes they won't need to be so upset. And same client, same situation. When we're more upset than CJ is, he calls us out. He doesn't need to be mad now because we're mad for him. You've been mad, you've done it for them. This is manipulative, and it often works. Be careful, however, not to point blame at the other realtor or the other party, because this can seriously bite you later. When you rank on another realtor because they failed to do the job that you felt they could do, it does help your client know that you're probably doing a better job than the other realtor, and you're not to blame. Stuff later, where you need your client to trust what that same other realtor is proposing, and you've already blackened that realtor's reputation, you will have no success getting your point across. So when you rank on another realtor, it will typically bite you later. Always blame the situation, not the parties. Next, be totally honest about situations with your clients and always deal with worst case scenarios. I often tell my clients, you're going to get sick of hearing me say, let's talk about worst case scenarios. If your client can live with the worst possible outcome, you have permission, therefore, to proceed with what most likely will be an acceptable outcome. Like the loan originator says, well, I can get this closed in 5 days. Okay, why don't we extend for 2 weeks? I always prefer to extend beyond the date that the loan originator gives us, because when you have that poor seller or buyer client, they have to extend over and over again. It really makes you look bad. So if you can just get that extension beyond that date, it'll help you later. Never overpromise a glorious outcome over which you almost always have very little control. Oh, yes. I can always blame my previous good friend Kevin, who worked with me for 11 and a half years. He wanted to be a hero and he overpromised. We lost the client. They didn't like us anymore because we couldn't control it. He never did that. He never did that again. Okay, 5, be brave and very timely, giving clients even bad news. We hate to pick that one up and give them the bad news. We hate to do that, but my gosh, you have to. Failing to deliver bad news timely will result in serious trust issues and likely loss of the business. It's not any fun to give them bad news. But you know, the truth is if you stayed in touch with them the whole time, and you've dealt with worst case scenarios with them the whole time, and you've been honest with them, that bad news is more palatable somehow. They know you did your best. 6, it's okay not to have all the answers. Always best to say that you don't know, but that you'll find out rather than spout off about issues about which you're not an expert and about which you don't have intimate first-hand knowledge. Lawsuits come from the faux pas. Carl is a knowledgeable property manager. He has a buyer client that thinks the world of him and us and the team, and he's trying to help her get into do an early occupancy on a property. And he did his research about the Alaska landlord-tenant law, but in his email, he said, this is the solution. I did my research and this is the solution. So I emailed him and I said, who is your source? I know he knows what he's talking about, but he was relaying information to the client as if it was research he personally had done, rather than talk about the source. When you talk about the source is the higher authority. And if in fact he might have been wrong in his conclusions when he did the research, well, that's what the landlord-tenant said. That was my interpretation of what it said. Don't ever get yourself in a trap. Dodge bullets every day in this business. Not because you're a coward, but because you're smart. Any other examples of that? Okay. Number 7, buyers are concerned about certain issues with the property. It's okay and strongly recommended, therefore, that you put buyers' concerns in the purchase offer from Gabe recently, or will the driveway actually be paved before closing? If this is important to your client, build it into the purchase offer.
I was sitting here thinking, how does Kelly know? But because she was the one originator.
We did recently with our client's duplex, where on the bill of sales it said, it will have all of these appliances. And we said we want them in working order, but of course it doesn't always mean fridges. And there was a fridge missing from the property, so we had to put it in there. Both sides will have a fridge.
Yeah.
And then we
Can't assume anything, put everything in writing. There's an attorney
Yes.
who used to work a lot with Jack White. I can't think of his name. Oh, yes, I can. First name is Greg. He's just grouchy as hell. But anyway, anytime you pick up the phone and talk to Greg, and you were allowed to do that. First of all, he was mad that you called. Secondly, he was mad that he picked up the phone. But that's how he made a living. And I'd say, Greg, this is what's going on. What do you think? The first thing was, is it in writing? Is it in writing? Oh, well, actually, no, Greg, I didn't. Don't call me if it's not in writing, but don't bother me because you'll lose. Anyway, put everything in writing. And back to number 7, it cost Bill and I a sale. It cost us some money, and it cost Kelly a transaction as well. So, big deal. But that's how you learn.
And Alyeska was going to close.
And so you lost too. Let's stop talking about this.
That's how many people are affected, though, by.
Yeah. It was terrible. I have a feeling you'll want to that. Me, right?
Right.
Okay, number 8, be transparent with your communications with your clients. As long as there is compatibility and trust between me, the other realtors, and the other parties of the transaction, I keep my team and my clients in 90% of all email communication. When it's time to strategize and negotiate on behalf of your clients with the other parties, your client will believe there are no secrets and that you are looking out for their best interest. The client will also better understand the parties, their respective personalities, and their wants and needs of which we are dealing, and why you might have recommended your client take a certain path in negotiations and strategies. If your client understands the personality of the other realtor because of the communication, then when you suggest a certain path, your client has a better understanding of why you suggested that direction. You can't have that transparency for every transaction, but if you can, I personally like to do that, and I recommend it. And Kelly, you see me do this a lot, and I suspect not a lot of realtors do it, but how do you feel about that?
Oh, I like it.
I do it, most of the time I try to do it, I CC Ellie, I blind CC the client, and if it's something I can do. It makes them see what each of us are doing in the deal to support our clients.
It kind of feathers your nest, so when you really want your
Yes.
client to take a risk with you, he's far more educated and willing to do that.
Can we talk for a second about blind CC versus CC?
Go ahead.
Just that Carla mentioned blind CC, and I know that you don't.
I don't like it.
That's why I was saying if it's something I can do.
Yeah.
There may be certain things that we can't relay between clients or even realtors or lenders, et cetera. But if it is something I can knowledge between all of the entities to see my client so that they stay in the loop of what. If it's something that I feel that the client needs to be fully aware of, I will CC them. That every party knows that they're involved in that communication.
Like blind CCs, is because then when you all CC me, I don't know what you've done. I don't know who got that information.
Okay.
You might know it because you remembered it, but it's not a record. I don't think a blind CC shows up on your order, does it?
Only on your side, if you're the
Okay,
one
so
sending
When
it.
you reply all of this, it,
No, if you
It
reply all,
won't
it
send
won't.
it to the blind
send it
CC.
back to the client.
it won't send it back to
Anyone who's blind.
nobody's.
Okay, number 9, always meet your client's priorities and needs of legal and reasonable. What seems insignificant to us may be of the highest priority for the client. I struggle with that a little bit. After you're in the business, as long as, certainly I've been in the business, you realize what's important and what isn't. Let's just kind of give an example. Sometimes your clients get so fussy over what you know is the most silly thing. We're dealing with a $400,000 house and you're worried about a issue. And I have to remind myself not to push back too hard on it. If that's important to them, it's got to be important to me. Yes,
I
ma'am.
was just gonna say, I have a good example from clear back on our Lily Pond transaction, that her DM or whatever, that the other realtor wanted, our buyer clients to pay, and it was, what was it, like maybe $400? Anyways, the sellers were talking about, canceling the whole transaction and everything if this didn't get paid by the buyer clients, when in reality, they had an offer in on another house and they needed their house to close in order to obtain the house. So it was just kind of funny.
Yeah, they were making a big fuss over $400 when they could have lost the entire sale and the purchase of that house.
Of the next house.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
but that would be interesting.
And when those kind of things happen, I always wonder about the other realtor. Does he not have any control of the client? Is he not explaining things to the client? But this is a very tricky business. We can never assume things will go the way we think they should go logically.
Can explain a little bit about the seller mentality, the seller buyer mentality.
Okay.
From my own personal transaction with my parents.
Oh, for the worst to deal with.
Yeah. You get to a certain point in a transaction as either the buyer or the seller or both. Sometimes when you got to sell one to purchase the other. And you get where you start feeling like, I don't want to say nickel and dimed, but that's really what it is. It's 200 here, it's 700 there, it's 600 there. It's $50, $75 a day for this. And you just get to the point where you go, enough.
No.
And I don't care. It's the principle, it becomes the
It was,
principle.
yeah.
And so when you have someone who gets he's willing to throw it all away over $400. It's because they've lost sight of the forest.
Well, and
For the
the
trees.
truth is, now that you say it that way, these people that were pushing back on $400 had the right to push back on a
Right.
nickel by then, because our buyer
Right.
client was so out of control.
Yeah.
I keep talking about control, and
Mhm.
she was impossible.
Yeah.
And
You just lose sight of the forest for the trees,
Yeah.
and you just it's an emotional thing. Once you slow down and you talk through it, and come to the rationalization or the realization that, okay, if I push back on this, then I'm going to lose my purchase here, and I'm going to lose my seller. It's back to square one. Just like clients who closing's delayed by 4 days, and your seller goes, screw it, I don't care. It's been this, and this. I don't care if I have to start over, and you have to talk them back off the ledge and make them realize, okay, do you really want, we've lost our prime market, we're looking at another 60 days with this, 3-5 more days, the bird in the hand, I know it's a pain in the butt, and then they hopefully come back to their senses and go, okay, you're right. It's not worth throwing away 60 days of market and this and this and this. But it's the emotional reaction of enough.
or what tends to happen also, the client says, I will only sign the closing, I'll only go to closing. You're making all the money, Kathy Fernandez. You're going to get $10,000 commission. I will only go to closing, Kathy, if you'll pay the $400.
And
Have
that's a
has anybody
slippery
heard that
slope.
before? Oh, yeah. And what's the answer?
No.
I'm so sorry. I've done nothing wrong. I don't get to live in that $500,000 house. And I've said this before, I really want your transaction to close. But what you need to know is that in our business, we are in a high-risk business. We try to have at least 10 transactions in our pipeline at all times. And we always know that one of those, it won't go to closing. Yours, Mr. stumbling over $400, we'll be okay with that. We don't like it, but we'll be fine with that. That's a wonderful answer. I've used it before. It works. You can use that. What was that?
I think so. I say cold-blooded.
Yeah.
Just like,
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and it doesn't mean we don't care about our clients, but we shouldn't be taken advantage of. We should not be paying for things. If we created a mistake, yes, that's another story. But if we didn't do anything wrong, why should you be paying for it? No, it's something about precedence. Okay, number 10. When seeking answers to clients' questions and concerns, always go to a higher authority, the lender, the appraiser, the muni, the broker, and then have a way of validating the answers you obtain by forwarding emails you receive from the higher authority or by emailing in the white code. Not unlike what we were talking about with Carl. Keeps you out of the line of fire and adds credence to what you're saying. 11, always be a step ahead of your clients. This is a very tricky business. You cannot come to work in this business every day and not be on point. Lunch, you have to be focused. If you're in a fog, your clients are going to have hurt. This should be easy to do since you work with real estate transactions and situations daily, and your clients do not. You know what can go. You should be ahead of them. You should be ready to fix the problems. Anticipate their questions and concerns and bring them up even before they leave. On the other hand, don't create needless concerns. We just closed a transaction with another realtor who created needless concerns over and over and over again, as if this was the only transaction she had. I know it wasn't, but it was just a lot of work because she just made mountains out of molehills. Alienated our seller totally. This is a woman that will never get a business recommendation from our client or anybody that else that he worked with at ConocoPhillips, right?
I have 2 realtor friends that did do that, and I will not say their names, and I've known them for 15 years, and they just stood pot, and they don't need to. And I really think that they're trying a good job. Oh, absolutely, they have every good intentions whatsoever, but it's like, no.
they ask a question, you give an answer, and then they make the answer, and asked, the answer wasn't what they wanted to hear, so
Well,
they tried to.
Like,
corner
you know,
it.
they might ask how many dogs are in the neighborhood. Well, they would go and I'm being hypothetical.
Yeah, yeah.
Then they would go and find out how many dogs might be in the neighborhood, and they find out how many, she would go and find out how many dogs are being walked, how many times they poop, who doesn't or who does pick up the dog poop. You know, I mean, it was that kind of, it was,
That's horrible.
and they're successful realtors, but they choose, and it's like, you're only thinking, okay, they're just.
Well, and you know, a realtor who
Don't
conducts,
So thorough.
For all
and a realtor that conducts themselves that way really set themselves up for all kinds of additional requests, but unreasonable requests on the part of the client.
And fast. They've been stressful for themselves.
I think liability.
That's a good point, isn't it? Yes. Yeah,
Absolutely.
They're not here.
The realtor that Kathy is talking about, one other thing that I don't know, if we haven't talked about it here, but they were a little over involved, I feel, in their client's life and their client situation. A lot of the problems that arose were from her trying to plan and schedule life around the, but they're getting married and their family's here, so we really want in the house before the wedding.
she was asking like a month before closing when we were going to close, and I said, look at the contract, that. Well, by this, no. And she got to the point where she didn't want to talk to me, which was fine. And Billy became a best friend.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, 12. Share every tiny success or failure with your. I want you to know.
Yeah.
Tell her to come to trenches.
Yeah.
Be on my team and turn into points.
You must have a problem to go deal with that.
Rushing out there, girl.
Because I told her when I'm to be available.
Oh, that is a little annoying. Ooh. All righty. Okay, share every kind of success or failure with your clients. This will help them understand and appreciate that you are looking out for them and for the transaction. And additionally, they will appreciate your hard work, expertise, and time that is being invested in their transaction and ultimately their quality of life. This greatly helps to validate your commission, which most clients feel is already exorbitant.
So I have a question about that.
Yes, ma'am.
As a lender, working with you guys, and you will probably all feel a little bit differently about this. If there is a little obstacle that we run up against, say underwriting comes back with something, and we are trying to deal with it ourselves by doing whatever we're calling the state of Alaska and asking the question or whatever it might be. How do y'all feel about, do you want to know those problems, or do you want to let us handle them ourselves and then let you know that we had an obstacle afterward? Do you like to be involved in a little problem? And I'm not saying a problem we can't fix.
Right. I would say everybody's different in that respect. I like to know
I think
because I
about
like
it
to
a
let
lot.
my clients know, hey, we're working on this, we're making this happen for you, because there's such a length of time that once an offer's penned, that you're doing your job and there's nothing really going on for a while. So having some information, every few days to your client to make them feel like it's moving is good. Even if it is something that can be solved, at least they're seeing there's work being done. I'm the type of person that likes to know.
Kelly, I want to know, because if it causes delays, and there's been, and by the time we know there's a delay, we may not, if we'd known all along what was going on, people would be more prepared to expect the delay and be acceptable of the delay.
Well, I'm thinking more about, like I said, I'm not talking about an issue that can't be fixed. I'm talking
Or
about
causing an
more,
issue.
and I'm not even thinking about causing delay, because then absolutely you would be brought into the picture, but it might be something that we need to internally work on and with maybe the buyer.
Does it, if it falls in the category of confidentiality, I know you probably can't share that with us.
Well, that's the, with an inform, yes, that, yes. It's another subject we should probably bring up one day.
Yeah.
But it's just, you know, I've thought about it before, okay, well, we've got a little obstacle here, do it, should I pick up the phone and tell them, or should I try and, because I'm a problem solver, and I'll solve it and fix it. And then I
For
might
my-
leave home with
For my money, please tell me, because delays can often come from things that weren't big issues. And I say often, like I have all this experience, we all know it. But if it's something that, oh, it's no big deal, then it winds up being a little bit of a big deal and causes a delay. If I knew about it beforehand and I could make my client aware of it firsthand, it shouldn't be an issue. Kelly says she's got it, but this is just what's going on. We're working on it for you. We'll keep you updated. Yeah, I would love that choice.
There's things that happen all day long between originators and processors and our operations manager and all, and sometimes we don't even need to tell you. But if you want to know, then
It's maybe good to know the process a little bit.
It would certainly be a helpful learning curve for us, just to know, as we interview a client and we hear something that we know you had to handle 6 months ago, it helps us do a better job with the client. And then maybe pre-warn them too.
You got your thinking based on Carl?
I do, because, well, I'm kicking it back, you know, if you're with the buyer, I mean, we have the same client at that point, you know, your client is that buyer, our client is that buyer. As long as the buyer's informed, it comes down to the idea of thing that I could do to assist here, or do I just let my expert in this area do what it is they do? Like, I'm struggling with that idea. Like, it's fun to be informed, but I also, yeah, Kelly's got it. So long as the client is
But
informed.
Carl, let's say we represent the seller. And as the listing realtor, if Kelly chooses to share something with us, we're going to be we'll be better armed to prepare the seller for a delay. If it's something Kelly can share with us.
yeah, and privacy policy is.
Yeah.
But, well, let me give you the example what I'm thinking about for this time. I have a guy who leases his mechanical administrator's license to a heating company. Okay? So I pre-flighted the file, which means if I'm a little bit worried about how underwriting's going to look at income or job situation or debt ratios, or anything like that, not credit, but I'll pre-flight a file before I issue a 90% letter. Okay? And underwriting takes a look at everything. It was interesting that underwriting came back, and this was a new one for me, that said, is the state of Alaska okay with him leasing his license to another individual or entity? And he has to be employed by that company in one form or another. So I called the state of Alaska and I said, I'm not going to say his name and I'm not going to give his license number because I don't want to get in trouble. But I had a 30-minute conversation with the state of Alaska. And now he walked me through it. And see, that's what I'm talking about. So sharing with you, hey, we've got a problem. I'm going to call the state of Alaska and I'll try and figure it out. Or waiting until
Well, if I sent that
after-
buyer to you to be pre-qualified, I'd absolutely want to know that.
Yeah. That's,
I would
mean,
definitely
that
want-
detail,
See,
I'd want to know.
Before I
too.
write an offer, I'd want to know
Oh,
that.
yes, but
For the next time, for another
Oh, fair enough.
client.
yeah, I'm talking about. And then, so we got it, you know, it's all done. We had a little issue and we got it all worked out.
So it was the answer.
Well, part two to that is, and sure enough, there is a license for that heating company under his administrator's license. So he did notify the state of Alaska. A contract in file that says he is an employee of that heating company. Well, I sent over verification of employment because I don't want to just assume anything. And they called back and said, he's not an employee of our company. He is a subcontractor. So now I,
wow.
so that's a kind of example. Of,
Yeah.
know,
Something that happened about really a buyer to pre-qualify. It's the weirdest thing.
well, I know what you
It's the weirdest thing. I sent this buyer to pre-qualify, and I'm trying to think who the other part of this. And
Was it called?
I think it was Connor, yeah. And Kelly, it was so strange because this was so not like Kelly. And Kelly said, "We can't make this person a loan." I said, "Well, Kelly, why not?" "Well, I can't tell you."
Well, I think, no, here's what I said, if I'm not mistaken. Kathy, I don't know that I said I can't give him a loan. I think I said
Maybe you wouldn't.
to work with this person.
Okay.
It was more
Something
along
of that
those
nature, yeah.
lines.
And then I said, "But Kelly, why?" And you could not tell me why. And I'm, you know me, I have to know why.
I'm like, why?
You remember what I told you?
Eventually, after 12 whys, I think you eventually suggested I check a website.
That's right.
Yeah, check a
I told her
website.
to check the State of Alaska website,
Yeah,
because I ethically wouldn't want to look at that.
right. And even then, I was dumb enough, I couldn't connect the dots. I went to the website and realized why she ethically couldn't work with him, but I still couldn't figure out
Morally,
why
personally.
she couldn't. But then it turned out, after asking me many more questions, that if morally or ethically be responsible for putting this family in the neighborhood, and if she couldn't, nor could I. Tell that client
He
goodbye.
was a child molester,
Yeah,
and he'd just gotten out of prison. And he didn't tell me it was child molester, but he told me he spent time in prison, so I took the next step, court reading. Now I know.
very,
What is
of
that?
course, even just hearing the word no, I hate the word no, and just, no, I know, wait a minute, why can't you? He's got money, he's got decent credit, he had great credit in prison.
But in fact, that 2-year job history was just the kicker there.
Yeah, interesting, fascinating. Okay, we're just about, let's do one more. Let's go back to the number 12, though. There's a reason why I think it's important to share every tiny success story or failure with your clients. Your clients, your seller clients, your buyer clients will never completely understand how hard you work for them and all the buttons you push, the phone calls you make, the paper trails, unless they're on your email string, which helps a lot. Yeah. Yeah, 11 o'clock appointments at night. Carl's writing an offer at 11 o'clock at night. They'll never know that if you don't keep them in the loop and share successes and failures with them.
Yeah.
And if you make it look easy, they'll wonder why you're making so much money. So it's manipulative again, but I've always felt it was really critical to keep them involved. And my repeat client business is really excellent, and I think it's because they really understand what we do and that we take good care of them.
I had something to say. I don't want to know anything. Just get it to close. I've had people tell me that.
I like the education process, but again, without
I know you could do it.
liability. Okay, should we finish this up next week?
Yeah.
Yeah. Kelly, look into it. We'll do a color coding thing. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Now, next week is the weekend after Labor Day.
Oh, there won't be a
tour.
oh, or a sales meeting either.
Right.
Okay, then we won't meet next Tuesday. Okay, perfect.
Yes, I'd love to do the color coding.
No, we'll do that. We won't do that yet. We'll finish this next time.
What is that?
Oh, you
What
weren't here.
What season you are?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And Kelly's had 3 days of training in that many years ago.
You might be a little bit more cool because you have more.
The older I get, yeah.
But yeah, I'm autumn for sure.
I don't know.
But I look
Oh,
good.
no.